Now, my next guest has a few things to say about this, I'm sure. Please welcome into the show Dan Geltrude. Dan, thanks for being on. I was talking to a couple analysts last week, and I saw what the market was doing. I said, did I miss something? They said, no. I mean, here's what his transcript was, and I read it, and I guess a lot of other people read it a little bit differently than I did. What are your thoughts?
Well, I read it as you did, Scott. Listen, I think the market has some very select hearing when it comes to interest rates. Nothing I heard from Jay Powell indicated that a rate cut was anywhere near close to where we are right now. So I don't know why the market reacted that way, except that's how the market wanted to react. If you look at this logically, and you were alluding to it just now, it would be very, very risky for the Fed to be lowering rates. Why? Because inflation is not slayed. I mean, has it come down? Yes. But we're still going up, right? If you're up 3% year over year, and last year we were up to 12%, it means we're up 15% overall. So people don't take into effect the cumulative nature of inflation.
Right.
So I think the market is way off here, Scott, and I just don't know how they heard this any other way.
Well, I mean, being up 9% for the month on average between the three stock markets, I mean, that used to be a great year when I was younger. But now we can do that in a month when everybody thinks that we're going to be getting these rate cuts. Now, let me get a little bit deeper here. You know, for 15 years-ish, right, we had close to 0% rates. At one point in time, $16 trillion of government debt around the world was priced at a negative rate. And that was just from everybody trying to spur on their economies with the price of money being basically for free, okay? Now, we're not going back to those days. I hate to tell those people that, but we're not going back to those days anytime soon. Now, we might down the road. But for everybody to think just because we've conquered inflation, and that's another arguable subject that we could spend the show on, just because you think that they've done a great job with getting inflation to come into a normal level or close to normal, that doesn't mean you start cutting rates. You save those rate cuts for when things go horribly wrong. No one's ever cut interest rates when the economy is humming along as well as they say it is, right?
Well, you're exactly right. Listen, rates have been artificially low for a very long time, Scott, and that got everyone addicted, particularly the government and consumers got addicted to spending because they were borrowing so cheaply. So everybody figured, hey, it's a party, free money, let's take it. I understand the logic, but now what? Now when rates start going up, quite frankly, now you're in a squeeze, and you have consumers in a squeeze, and you have the federal government in a squeeze with all the debt that's been taken on. Now, listen, you said it before, you need to have some room here with interest rates for when you need stimulus. So I'm okay with where rates are right now. And honestly, you probably have to inch it a little bit higher before this thing is really under control. Just my view.
Well, I mean, that's not a common view. I don't disagree with you altogether. I think the economy is, I think that they have not conquered inflation. They brought inflation, they've slowed it down, but we're still going up in price. And then for over the last 2 years, things that were $100 2 years ago are now $120 in total, at least that. But the other thing is that, you know, you're going to have to keep some powder, like you said, or I've said too, you're going to have to keep some powder dry. This whole notion where I see some people I think are fairly smart out there doing this, you know, on the scene, talking about interest rates, saying now that we've conquered inflation, that means we can start cutting rates, is ludicrous to me. I'll give you 30 seconds on that.
Well, you know, Scott, here's one thing I'm going to throw into the mix, kind of a what if. What if Donald Trump gets reelected president? He's going to be putting enormous pressure on the Fed to lower rates. Why? Because he's going to want to really juice up the economy. So that's the one thing as we look to in the future, whoever that next president is, what are they going to do about interest rates?
Well, I mean, you got to be careful because if they really lower them, you could see inflation back up. That CPI could make new highs. I mean, 9.1% is not too far away if they really did that and made money free. Boy, that's a great point. I'm going to think more about that, but I got to let you go now. Thank you very much, Dan. We'll definitely have you back next Monday. Dan Geltrude,